The try-catch clause actually has three parts. It's actually try, catch, and finally. So first you try to run the method. If an exception is thrown somewhere in the execution of that method, then catch catches that exception, and then finally runs whether the exception is caught or not. So basically where it fits in our picture is kind of right here. It just sits underneath the catch clause such that right after the catch executes or doesn't execute, it doesn't matter, the finally will run before we get down to the next method. So in manage, if the exception here was thrown, then the exception would be thrown, then we would hit the finally, and then the exception would be caught in main. If we put a finally clause underneath the catch clause in main, then the exception would be caught, the finally would run, and then the rest of the method would run.
What we want to do now is have some finally behavior inside of our two try catches. So we write the word finally here. And remember that it's going to run regardless of whether the exception is caught or not. So in the finally in manager.manage, we're just going to say regardless of what happens. And then in the zoo try catch, we'll add ... profits. Great! Now we can run this and watch our finally behavior come out. So we have everything we saw before, but we have these two new lines. Manager says, regardless of what happens. And that's being printed out from the try-catch block in manager.manage before the broke exception zooms up to zoo.main. And ... profits is being printed out from the try-catch in zoo.main. Now let's change it so that the animal does not throw the exception. So we can rerun our code and see that no exceptional behavior is happening, but we can still see the two finally clauses being printed out. So we can see that the finally clauses run regardless of what happens with the exceptions.